Welcome to another edition of Focus. And as promised, we have with us today Extension Associate with Community and School Gardens, Ms. Stephanie L. Wood. Stephanie, we're so glad that you could be with us here today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Stephanie, with this pandemic, how have you been doing with you and your family through all of this?
All is well. It's definitely an adjustment with the children, and I'm also seeing that a lot more people are interested in learning how to grow their own food.
So you have noticed that when you say grow their own food, more of a yard garden or more of a container gardening type thing at home?
I know that container gardens can be a good place to start. Even if you do have yard space, you can eventually grow bigger into your yard, but container gardens is a very good start space.
When putting something in a pot, what would you suggest? Plastic, terracotta? Does it matter?
Sure, that's a good question. So container gardening is huge. It can be, you can use anything recycled. Number one rule is you want to make sure that you have holes in the bottom for drainage. I recommend the bigger the pot, the less you have to water it. So the bigger pot you can have, the better. But small ones can work as well. You just have to make sure to water more often.
Okay. And to water the plant, how would you know when it needs watering? What's a good way to test that plant?
That's a great question, Dexter. So what you'll do with your container is you'll go over to it and you can actually lift it up or kind of lift it to the side and see if it's heavy or if it's light. If it's heavy, you want to leave it alone and walk away because you can overwater your plants and kill them. But if it's light, you need to soak your container garden till water comes out the bottom. Some people have been taught to water like a teaspoon a day or something. That is not the way that you water your container pot. That's not the way you water a plant. You want to soak it until water drains out of the bottom and then continue to check it. If it's heavy, leave it alone. If it's light, soak it again.
Now, what vegetables would you suggest? I know they've had several recalls on vegetables in the past. What would you suggest as something good to plant vegetable-wise in the fall?
Sure. So, yeah, we're looking at the fall and we have had some recalls. And the best way to know what's on your food is if you grow it. So let's take romaine lettuce, for example. You can grow romaine lettuce in a container garden. That would be ideal. It's a head lettuce, which stays pretty small, and you actually chop the whole head off whenever you're ready to harvest and eat it. Mustard greens is a great container garden plant. Collard greens, you can even do carrots. Mustard greens and collard greens, you harvest those from the leaves on the outside. So that continues to produce for you the whole season. So it would be a really good option for a fall plant in your container garden.
Where could we place the container? What would you suggest? Patio? Or even if you lived in an apartment, where could you place this?
That's right. So with your container, whenever you're growing vegetables, you want to make sure that you have full sun, and full sun is 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. So that means when you look up, you want to make sure that you don't see a tree. You want to make sure that you're not looking at a carport overhang. You want to have this container in full sun.
And Stephanie, I may have jumped a little ahead, but as far as fertilizer, not the brand, but as far as the numbers that are on the bag, what would you say is best for a container garden?
And I would recommend something real even, 888 or 888 as they call it. That's something that you can put into your container pot. And whenever you put it, you don't want to put it too close to your plant because you can burn it. 1266 is also really good for vegetable production. So I would recommend the two of those as far as fertilizer ratios whenever you're putting them into your container garden.
Okay, and what about the soil? Is there a certain type of soil that we could use? Would you dig up dirt in your backyard and place into the container or purchase pre-bagged soil?
Good question. No, you would not dig up native soil from your yard and put it into your pot because we want to make sure we have good drainage in our pot. So we would put potting soil into our outdoor pot. You can make your own, you can get it from a plant nursery, but you would want to use potting soil, not topsoil, and not native soil from your yard.
I know in elementary school, the teachers had us do the experiment with kidney bean to place it into a mason jar with tissue paper and a little water and watch it grow.
Yes.
But other than that, I've never really tried my hand at container gardening. And Stephanie,
There's no better time than now, Dexter.
You're right. We got a lot of time on our hands with this pandemic.
Yes.
And Stephanie, look, we want to say thank you for joining us today on this edition of Focus Insight on the Southern University Ag Center. And we want to wish you and your family the best during these times and want you all to stay safe until next time.
Thank you. Same to you and yours.